Several weeks after her mother's funeral, a woman gave me a handmade quilt wrapped in plastic with a very specific request. She said, "Please give this to someone that you know will use it." She explained that her relationship with her mom had been rocky. Mom had always been kind of cold and aloof, and she never felt all the way that she measured up, or that Mom even really ever saw her. So one year, she said she decided to make a quilt for Mom and dedicated all the time on that as she was making it to pray for Mom. And then she practiced her speech, drove the 8 hours so she could give it to Mom in person, and said, "Mom, I pray that every time you see this or wrap yourself in it, you will just remember that you have a daughter who loves you very much, because I do." She said Mom didn't say much. Mom said, "Thank you." And that was about it. It was 10, maybe 11 years after that Mom died, and the family had gathered after the funeral to clean stuff out of the house. And the woman opened one closet door in the hallway and found the quilt tucked into the very back corner, still wrapped in plastic, now with a layer of dust on it, unused. And as she was describing this, she started talking. Her grief stirred, I think, mostly because the unappreciated quilt was one more reminder of what could have been and should have been in a relationship with her mom. It's true of gifts, isn't it, that we want the person to whom we give something to take a certain delight in our gift, to enjoy it, maybe even to savor it. It seems likely to me that there might be something like that in God, that God delights in us delighting in the gifts we've been given. When we notice them, even maybe savor them. In today's gospel, Jesus tells the story of 10 lepers and how only one seemed to really get it. Did the other 9 not appreciate this great gift or savor it? Or were they thankful and just never said it? I don't know. I just know that only one seemed to truly take it in, savor it, and become grateful enough to come back to say thanks. I fear that as a people, we are more and more becoming like those 9. That in particular, we seem to be losing the art of savoring our blessings instead of noticing and enjoying and savoring for a moment the gifts we have. We seem to think we need more. We just move quickly on from that to think we need more experiences and more things without really even fully noticing and taking in the blessings that are already ours. It's sad how we sometimes hardly even notice the gifts all around us. When we do, how blessed we would be if we just took a moment to stop, to savor the blessing, and even to notice ourselves doing that. You know, if we ever hear a child giggling, to just pause and take delight in that sound. To stop before that silhouette of a tree at sunset and just stay there for a moment and just take it in, right? Or if we catch the smell of wood burning somewhere on a chilly night, to drink that in for a bit. And to notice that we love that. To savor the presence of that family member across the room or across the table. That we would notice and that we would notice ourselves noticing, that we would remember, that we would savor this very day. If you or I are blessed to be in the car with a family member or friend, or to sit opposite them at a meal, I just pray that we don't take that for granted. What a shame it would be to leave that table, for example, and not even to truly have seen them. I mean, even now, are we not blessed in countless ways this very moment? How easily we could miss the blessings that are ours now. Every 4 years, all the priests of the Archdiocese of St. Louis are asked to gather for several days of meeting and prayer. So this past week, I spent Monday through Thursday at Lake of the Ozarks with Archbishop Rosansky and over 200 priests from the Archdiocese. It was a lot of work, but it was important work that needed to happen. And I'm glad I was there. So Thursday night, I jump in my car to head home, and my first thought is to grab my phone right and to start trying to catch up on some of the zillions of calls that I need to make. But something inside me knew better, to instead to pause for a moment, because there are some really good things of those days. And I knew somehow that I needed to reflect on them a bit and savor those. So I put my phone back down, and the first thing I savored was this. One of my younger brothers, Father Bill Kempf, he's one of those who helped get the whole massive event together. And throughout my days there, he was kind and sweet to me, almost like he was kind of looking out for his elderly older brother. It kind of chokes me up to think about that now. I mean, I know it wasn't much, it's just what we do, but it meant a lot to me. And something in me knew that I wanted to savor that for a bit. And so I did that. It took some time, and at the end I just kind of whispered thanks to God. And then I took a little bit of time to notice the other two things that had struck me for the weekend that I wanted to savor, and I remembered them, and I tried to be grateful for them and not to take them for granted. And then I again whispered a word of thanks to God. And it was only after I had taken that time that I picked up my phone to start trying to get some work done. I gotta tell you that by taking that quiet time to savor those blessings, the gift of those blessings deepened in me. And actually, who I am as a person deepened in me as well. This is a tremendously important spiritual practice. You and I become more alive and more grateful and joyful when we take time to intentionally savor our blessings. So I say, let's try that for a moment now, if you would. Let's take a little quiet time to sit with a blessing or two of the past day or so, or even of right now. Is there something that would be good to remember and cherish for a moment? How that tree starting to change colors caught your eye. How good that cup of coffee tasted. Or how sweet it was that person smiled at you. Or what? Or maybe it's someone. Is there someone for whom you are grateful these days? Someone who blesses your life in some way? Or maybe there's someone who has died that you want to remember with love. What would you do well to savor for a moment? Go ahead, take some time now to do that. Take a few more seconds if you would, and then whisper to God a word of thanks. When that woman gave me her mother's quilt, I knew that I needed to learn to savor more, to not move so quickly that I barely notice the blessings that ultimately mean so much to me. May God help each of us to slow down enough to cherish the ordinary blessings of an ordinary day. The blessings that bring joy to our lives. The blessings that ultimately mean the world to us.